Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the FWW365 podcast. I am your host, J-Lex, as I've talked about before, certified personal trainer, other multiple certifications. The topic I want to talk about today is something that seems to have been going on in this country for I don't know how many years now. It doesn't make any sense. Why we're even having a discussion about this is beyond me. And that topic today is obesity, or obesity as a fashion statement. That's the title of today's podcast. Recently, famous singer Lizzo, I forget where I read it, it was a couple days ago, talked about how she gained additional weight on an already, she's obviously, for those who know, she's a singer. I think she's Grammy nominated or whatever the case might be. It's a big girl. Okay, you're entitled to that. But she is morbidly obese. And from what I understand, I didn't read the entire article, I guess she put on additional weight. Once again, where the common sense is in our society is beyond me, but I don't want to harp too much or offend people, although I probably will offend a few of you today. Sorry about that. Where do we begin? I want to start out by talking, I'm going to take this back to about 1999. I was a senior in high school, and I remember vividly people talking about how obesity was a problem in this country. At that time, the way the stats read, it was about 30 to 33% of the populace was obese. Now, we also have to take into account they were talking about BMI and things along those lines. As I've mentioned in other episodes, BMI is not a strong indicator of obesity, because if you're an NFL linebacker, you're considered obese. If you're somebody who has muscle on them, you're considered obese. But I'll do another episode where I talk about BMI versus body composition. I won't get into that too much today. But we have to stop with the nonsense. We have to stop following these celebrities who have no clue what they're talking about. And we have to stop accepting everything as is as it pertains to our society. There is nothing good that comes from being obese or morbidly obese. So I'm just going back a little bit. 1999, about a third of the population was obese. There was, a lot of pressure on fast food to give better options, things along those lines. In that time, from 1999, and I've just read some numbers this morning, as of 2017 and 18, we are at about 42.5% of the population being obese. That is a huge number in less than 20 years. It's a massive jump, and it doesn't make any sense. What good comes from being morbidly obese? There is nothing good about it. What has happened is people are sitting here acting all offended, getting all mad, saying that you should just accept it as it is. There's no reason under any circumstances that we should accept people who are morbidly obese. And from the same numbers, mind you, this is the CDC. These are the CDC's numbers. These aren't mine. Don't jump in the comment section talking about you're hurting people's feelings or you're a troll or anything along those lines. These are not my numbers. I'm just regurgitating what I looked up. As of 2017-18, the number was about 42.4, 42.5%. So even if we're talking 4 years ago, it's probably closer to around 44, 45%. Those are not good numbers, ladies and gentlemen. They're not. And I think, and I also read, of the people who are severely obese, it was around 5% in 1999. As of 2017, 2018, via the CDC, it's up around 9%. That's another huge jump. There's no reason under any circumstances that people in our society, given the information that we have and given the options that you have in terms of a gym membership, things that you can do online, there's no reason that number should be put, inching towards 50%. Half the population, probably by, I would say 2030, roughly half the population, just taking a guess, is going to be considered obese. The ones who are morbidly obese or severely obese is going to be up above 10%, if it's not already. We have to stop with this nonsense. It's exactly what it is. It's nonsense. There's no reason under any circumstances that many people in a country as abundant, and I know people are going to argue about, oh, well, there's sections of the population that can't afford real food or good food. It's not that hard. It's not as if it's out of reach. Okay, exercise. Like I said before, there's so many tools and channels you can go to do basic stuff at home as it pertains to exercise. As it pertains to going to a supermarket and choosing better options in terms of your food. We have to stop with this lack of common sense, this lack of ignorance is probably the best way I can describe it. There's no reason under any circumstances that people, and we're not just talking about poor people, they're an exception to the rule. They can't afford good food, fine. But there's plenty of people out here who are middle class to upper middle class, who are morbidly obese or obese, who don't have any excuses. Should there be food accessible? Should there be organic food accessible to those who maybe be in the working class to borderline poverty? Yes, of course, I totally agree with that. I totally get that. But a lot of you are still making a lot of excuses. I've seen so many lines around the block for Wendy's. I've seen so many lines around the block, for McDonald's. Whenever Popeyes comes out with a new chicken sandwich or McDonald's comes out with the McRib, you guys go in droves. Popcorn chicken, all these other fake foods that they're making, because that food's not real. You think a real piece of chicken costs $1 on a dollar menu at some fast food chain? You think they're serving you real food? Come on, don't be silly. We have to stop with the excuses, and people have to start working out. Look, I'm talking about it from a health and wellness standpoint. Employers are not going to sit there and hire people, and I know you're going to go to the point of discrimination and things along those lines. There are laws against it, but you still have to be able to prove it. No employer, I don't care how altruistic they might be, excuse me, is going to sit there and hire somebody or keep somebody on their staff who's constantly sick, constantly having to go to the hospital, constantly in and out of the office. If you're not productive, you're not useful. As harsh as that might sound, I know some of you are going to get mad and you're going to say, well, people should accept things as they are and blah, blah. No. And we can't sit here as a society and continue to accept this. By 2030, we're going to be close to 50% of the population being obese. One out of two people. And that's so we're talking 99, 2000, we're talking 30 years. It's not that difficult, ladies and gentlemen. Look, if you don't want to hire a trainer or a nutritionist or anything along those lines, go to YouTube, go online. All this information's out there. Under no circumstances should we be sitting here celebrating a Lizzo or anybody else who's out here showing unsafe and, quite frankly, stupid health practices. When did it become okay to not take care of yourself? When did that become the norm? I don't understand. We have a pandemic going on right now. And I was arguing with people about this online, and it just, once again, just the level of... Anyway, how the CDC talked about how, I think it was 78 or 79%, essentially 4 out of 5 people who were hospitalized with the Rona were obese. As of March of this year. I think it was March of this, or March of 2021, excuse me. Damn near 80% of those people who had some type of issue going on were overweight. Why is obesity or being overweight or anything like that not a health epidemic, even more so than the other things that are going on, is beyond me. When you're obese, you have chronic disease, cancer. Tends to run a lot for people who are obese and overweight. Many forms of cancer. Diabetes. I could go on and on and on and on. Other blood disorders. I'm not going to bore you with everything. You can go and look that up yourself. But I'm making the argument. How many of you who are okay with people being overweight and obese have a grandma, a grandpa, some relative who has either had to have a limb amputated, who have basically become immobile because of their obesity? They can't get up and down a flight of steps. They're wheelchair ridden. And you see those people who suffered in a time where the information wasn't readily available to them, and you come out and you make it seem as if it's okay. It's not. It's not okay to be obese. It's not okay to be overweight. Why in society are we accepting of these ridiculous things that not even 20 years ago we would sit there and tell people, like, you need to do something? You remember the old relatives that you had when they saw you and maybe you put on a couple pounds because you were in a new relationship, and they say, oh, you look, you put on a little bit of weight. It's a reminder. Oh, I need to get my stuff in order. But because people are so sensitive now, because people are so everything is the end of the world. So now we sit here and we allow people who either lack common sense or just either stupid or playing stupid to sit here and dictate, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on any of social media, that obesity is a bad thing. People are having their channels taken down and videos edited and videos taken down because they speak the truth. There's an entire manosphere out here who says we don't want women who are overweight. There's a difference between thick, muscular, and overweight. There's an entire section of social media here. And what do we hear from people? Predominantly women, not men in there too, but predominantly women. Well, you need to accept me as is. No, you don't. That's why a lot of you are alone right now. Forget about your attitudes and everything like that. That's a whole nother, that's out of what I want to talk about. But a good portion of you are overweight. And that is not a race thing. That is across the board. This is our reality. People need to go and take better care of themselves, period. We're putting mandates out here on everything else. You got to wear a mask. You got to do this. You got to do that. Not that there should be any mandates, but if we're going to put a mandate on something, it should be people having to lose weight. Well, Jay, you should be able to make your own choice. Make your own choice, fine. But overweight people are the reason that insurance is up so high, other than the greed of the insurance companies, but that's another story. One of the reasons that it's up is because a lot of y'all refuse to take care of yourselves. You sit here and you complain about there being no resources and everything along those lines, and I've talked about it in a previous episode. You will spend large sums of money on wigs and weaves and alcohol that you don't even have ownership in. You will spend large sums of money on cars and everything along those lines, all the trinkets that there are out there, but you won't invest in yourself. You'll invest in the external. You have the nicest suits, the nicest shoes, pristine haircut, the flyest car, the biggest house, but you won't work on the internal. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to be skinny. I'm not one of those people. I love seeing people who are muscular and they work hard and they got lean muscle and they can take care of themselves and they're in the gym 3-4 times a week. You guys will spend endless amounts of money at a happy hour, but you won't spend 1 hour a day working out. You'll make 150 million excuses. But like I said, you'll buy the expensive car, the Audi, the Lexus, the Benz, the Cadillac Escalade, whatever it is. And then you get mad when other people with more common sense than you turn around and say, I'm not into obese people. How many times has Lizzo been out there? And I hate to use her, make it seem like I'm picking on her. I'm not, but I'm just using her as an example. Is out here walking around. I don't even know how much she weighs. She's got to be pushing at least 300 pounds. Out here acting a fool, chasing every man, chasing every other celebrity that she wanted to shoot her shot with. They say no, and she doesn't understand why. I'll tell you exactly why. Because if that man ends up in a long-term relationship with you, he's going to have to carry you. He's going to have to push you in a wheelchair when you're older. Yes, overweight people become a burden upon their loved ones. I know that's harsh for some of you to hear. I know some of you think that I'm being insensitive. I really don't care. You become a burden. Not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally. Because when you had the opportunity, you refused to take care of yourself. And it's not fair to your partner. It's unrealistic, putting aside the financial aspect of it. You should be out here taking care of yourselves. You should be out here putting in the work, putting in the sweat equity, as I like to call it. But you refuse, because for some odd reason, we're in a society where everybody thinks everything is acceptable. It's not. Obesity is not acceptable. I'm not asking you to have a six-pack abs. But we should not be accepting of a medical condition that will hamper our society in probably the next 10 years. It will be, for all the issues that we have about this pandemic and all this other stuff, the biggest issue that we're going to have as a society as it pertains to medical conditions is probably, cancer will always be there. The other ones will be there, but obesity, being overweight, is going to be the biggest thing that we're going to be dealing with. Why are we accepting of people who are overweight and are either lazy or don't have the motivation, whatever you want to call it, but then we turn around and we shame people who realize that they're getting older and they need to take better care of themselves, and we fit shame them. Fit shaming. In the 21st century, I've never seen anything like it. People go out of their way trying to live a long and healthy life, and we turn around. There's a couple people. There's a couple actresses. Rebel Wilson, I think her name is. There's a couple other people in there who are the real examples that we should be following. Wow, they really went out of their way and lost 30, 40, 50 pounds. That's a good thing. And instead, we shame them because they did for themselves. They took responsibility. They took responsibility of their health and their lives. And we sit here, or I shouldn't say we, there's some of you who sit out there and berate these people and make fun of them because they took on the responsibility of taking care of themselves. They're the real glaring examples. Not a Lizzo, who probably in the next 10 years is going to be wheelchair stricken, or worse. I wish nothing bad upon her, or anybody else for that matter. I want to see people healthy. We can't have damn near 50% of society obese.
Because all you do when you're in that position, all you do is become a slave to the pharmaceutical companies. Your blood pressure is going to be up, hypertensive, you're probably at some point going to suffer a stroke, diabetes for sure, some form of cancer. And once that happens, it becomes very difficult to go backwards. This is what people are not understanding. I don't know how many times I've seen stories of people who either had high blood pressure or who, had some type of diabetes and everything along those lines, and they were slaves to the pharmaceutical machine, and then they finally went and they made the necessary changes, both diet-wise, exercise, the whole bit, and all of a sudden could be weaned off of those drugs, could be weaned off of those pills. Take control of your health. We've all got stress going on. We've all got something going on. We've all got, things in our families and everything along those lines. If you're one of those people who's from a family where you've seen your great-grandma, your grandma, your grandfather, whomever, your aunts going through stuff like this, then they should be the glaring example for you as to why you shouldn't follow that path. Once again, I'm not here to tell you not to have fun. I'm not here to tell you not to ever go to happy hour. But you don't have to go every day. You don't have to go every single day. If you want to relieve stress, go do some work on the treadmill. Go walk. Something as simple as walking can help you. You guys have to stop, man. And then you get mad at people like myself and others who tell you the truth. And what's the truth? The truth of the matter is, you're going to become a burden. In your 50s, in your 60s, versus your 70s and your 80s, where that makes more sense. Stop eating fast food every single day. Once again, I know, well, that food is not accessible to me. Well, it can be accessible to you. And plenty of farmers markets you can go to where they're not beating you upside the head. There's plenty of independent stores where they sell organic food. Prep your own meals. Prep them on the weekend. So just so you have something in the fridge, so that you have something for breakfast and lunch. Sacrifice is necessary in order for you to achieve this. This is not going to happen overnight. You're not just going to randomly do it. It takes discipline. It takes time. And if you don't have the time and you have the financial means, go to a company. There's a slew of them out there who can prep your meals for you. They deliver it. You're good for the week. That way you can go out and make money and do whatever it is you're going to do. You can't hire a trainer? I understand it. It's not a cheap proposition. Go to a group fitness class. Most of you who have those gym memberships that you never use, go to a group fitness class for an hour. Stop making excuses. People like myself are tired of hearing it. Like I said, you don't have to hire me or anybody else in the fitness field, but we're tired of hearing it. We're tired of hearing that. Well, we can't because yes, you can. You have time for everything else, don't you? Stop fit shaming people. You should applaud them. They are the glaring example of what you should be trying to achieve, since so many of you follow celebrities. Stop jumping on Twitter and other social media sites trying to bully people. They're not the problem. You are. There's nothing cool about being 5'7", 250 pounds. Nothing. There's nothing healthy about it. There's a good portion of you people walking around out here with all this extra weight on as if you're trying out for an NFL team. Knowing good and doggone well you can't get up and down a flight of steps. Start taking care of yourselves. Stop being worried about, the other non-important things. As I told you in the very first episode, 3 to 5 hours a week.
Even if you worked a 60-hour week and then you slept, and then you sleep 8 hours, 7 days a week. Even if you worked a 60-hour work week, you know, let's say you worked a 72-hour work week. Add the 56, this is what, 128? This is about 128, is my math right? 72, 56. Yeah, 128 hours. Which leaves you what, 40? You can take 3 hours out of that 40. 40. To go and do a workout. To go and walk. To do something. There are no more excuses. People don't want to hear from you. I sure as heck don't want to hear from you. You can try to bully me on social media and make your comments and say that I'm terrible for saying what I said. I really don't care. The time for being nice about things is over. You're an albatross. You're a burden upon people. It's time for you, everybody, to sit here and get themselves into decent shape. Live a long and healthy life. If you're not going to do it for you, do it for the ones that you love. I don't know what else to tell you guys. But thank you for tuning in. I hope that you like, share, and subscribe this content here today. Take care.